What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Travis. Of course, this is TWA Motorsports, and welcome to the power window, power lock, power mirror swap party. Yeah, it is going to be a fun one, that is for sure. So you guys caught the last video on this thing. Like I said, I'm going to break it up in multiple parts. In the last video, we got everything in the green truck out of the doors. So we got all the power window regulators. We got the old manual regulators out. We got the new ones in. We tested it. The window does go up and down. Everything is good on the doors. Now, onto the wiring in the truck. I don't know how long this is going to take me, guys. I may break this up in another separate video also. I don't know, but we're going to give it a shot today. So let's talk about what we need to do, or what our plan is. We are going to take, and I said this in the last video, we're going to take this entire dash shell out. Because the harness that routes through this, that goes not only from the switches from this door to the other door, but from there into the power feed, I want to pull all that out. I want it to be like factory. So there's a guy that has told me on a heater course he can replace in 3 hours doing this method. We're going to give it a shot and see exactly what wires we need to unplug. This is going to be a learning experience that you guys are going to see as we go. But he says that you can undo all the bolts around the dash, undo the steering column, undo a couple other little things, and pull the dash out as one. Now, if I do that, we're going to take a look at the wiring harness. If it's a complete nightmare to try to yank off this and move over to that one, we just may use the shell, because there's nothing wrong with the shell itself. It just has all the plastics off of it. So nothing's broken or missing or anything like that. It's in good shape, and hopefully we can keep it that way. But I do want to tell you guys that there's some stuff obviously that's been removed off this that I'm going to talk about real quick before we get into obviously what we need to take out at this point, because this is the way I got this truck as far as the dash looks. But if you have all the stuff, so it looks like that truck over there, you're going to get to see that when I take it off there. But we need to first pull the steering wheel down, put it in first gear with your foot on the brake, pull the radio bezel off, unplug anything that would be plugged into that, okay? After that, you can leave the radio in, you can leave your gauges in. You need to take off this dash cover. Okay, so this dash cover, in order to get access to all the bolts that you see here, these little 7mm that hold that thing on, you're gonna have to take the vents out. So the headlight assembly, you'll need to unplug it like you see there. You'll need to take the vent out of the center there. Somebody's just put it back in. You will need to take the vents out of each side. You will need to take the little triangle pieces off here. There's 2 bolts that run in on each side. Once you do that, you need to kind of gently lift it, and you need to pull it straight out, because it sets under those clips that you see up there on the dash. Okay, don't just yank it up, because it needs to kind of slide out of those clips. After you've done that, then the knee bolster, if you have that, there's just a couple Phillips and then 7mm along the bottom. Actually, it's clips up top and 7mm on the bottom. This truck had a console in it before. You would need to take your console out of the whole center, which means you got to take your seats out, and then your glove box. So if you guys go back and look at some of my console swap videos, you'll see how that stuff comes apart. But like I said, when we eventually get over to this truck, I'm going to show you all that. These are going to be really long videos, guys. So let's start with what I want to remove here. We're going to start with the 2 15mm. You can see one there, you can see one here, and then somebody says there's one hidden in there, but for now we're going to take these out on both sides. I believe they're 15s, either 15s or 18s. Let's go grab something and get those out of place. In areas where I can, I'm going to try to hold the camera as I do this. Oh, wrong way. It is a 15, by the way. Not a bad idea to tag and bag these. Now these are super loose, guys, because if you caught the video where I pulled the headliner out, I thought maybe I could sneak the wiring for the headliner, but it goes behind the dash. That's what's out the door right now. So we're gonna leave those there. Like I said, I'm gonna tag and bag these. Not as important here, but it will be more important when we move on to the other truck, because I wanna make sure everything goes back the way it came out. Ooh, that one's close. I have to put an extension on this one. I was able to get it. Now, like I said, I think there's another one hidden back here, but we will look here in just a minute if this thing doesn't come loose. I thought there was another one in there. But on to the 10 millimeters. You can see we have 1, 2, 3, 4 of these 10 millimeters that hold the dash to the metal of the body up top. So we're gonna go ahead, I'm not gonna be able to hold you guys on a camera while I take those out, but we'll get all 4 of those out across the front. Now, because of the space constraint with the glass, I started those with a 10 millimeter, just a short socket on my 1/4-inch drive, and then I used a swivel on an extension and took those out. So all 4 of those across the front are out. And I did find that 15. It's actually, you can probably almost see it if you put your ratchet through here. I am on it right now. It's behind this vent. It's back there in the corner. You can see it right through that crack. And we're gonna go ahead and pull it out as well. You see how much the dash moved when we did that? Now, can we get to it? I don't know. Look how loose the dash is now. So we're gonna try to reach in there and grab that. There we go. And you're gonna drop some stuff, guys. It's gonna happen. There should be one of those on the other side as well, but look, definitely a difference. One thing I do want to pull off though is this little hideout. I think these are just little plastic clips. There may be a couple 7s in here. I'm gonna have to grab a light, but I want to pull this out for a couple reasons. One, I think we're gonna have it out because I think it may connect. Maybe not, but I don't have one of these on my truck. This is kind of like a higher end model. Mine just got the ugly box down below, so I want to put this in when I get everything taken apart. So actually there's just a series of 7 millimeters across the bottom here. I think there's 4 of them total, but we're gonna get these out. Maybe a little bigger than 7 actually. No, there's 7. So we'll get all 4 of those out, and then we'll pull this thing out of the way. You may have to have a short socket to get to a couple of them. In fact, I'm gonna have to go grab a swivel, but you can see this little pocket, what I'm talking about. Well, there was supposed to be 4, but only, oh, look, it's broken, that's why. There is a 4th one, it's just broken off right here. So either way, I'm gonna set this aside, we'll clean it up, but I definitely wanna put this in this truck behind me. This is what mine looks like. See that ugly thing right there? Looks like an octopus hanging down from the dash. All right, let's move on, see what we need to remove next. Next thing I'm gonna remove is the parking brake release. You can see it right here. So what I'm gonna do, you can do it a couple different ways. You could take the 7 millimeter out, but we can just pinch this with a pair of vice grips. I'm probably not gonna be able to do it with one hand. We'll pinch this, push it through the hole, and then we'll just pull this little guy out here. This is kind of like a throttle cable. It's got a little bell on the end that we just need to thread out. Or like I said, you do have the option. You could fold this back, take the 7 millimeter out. That may be a little easier to unhook it. That way it's kind of dangling down below the dash. That's probably actually what I'm gonna do. I was actually able to thread it out the original way. I'd have to use a wrench. I was being lazy. Okay, so on to the steering column, guys. I'm going to unhook the steering column down here at the bottom. And let's see here. I'm gonna pull this vent tube out that we see right here. So we have a little more access. Just setting on a stud in here. I'm gonna have to go grab it's got a plastic pin in it right there. Can you see it beside that bundle of wires? Let's go grab our tool to release that so we don't break it. Now that we've got that out, I want to show you where we're going to disconnect the steering column. So you can see the steering column running in. So you can see this shaft right here, this kind of rusty looking piece. You've got right above that this silver piece. There we go. And then right above that, there's a black collar, and it has a bolt in it, guys. And I'm pretty sure it's a 13 millimeter. So we're going to go grab that 13, and then we're going to loosen it. You're going to need a wrench on one side, 13 on the other, and we'll push that shaft down into the vehicle, and that will release the steering column from the dash itself. So you could unhook it outside. It's just more cumbersome to try to pull it through that way. So we're just going to unhook right there. So real quick, this is what we took out. I don't know where the actual nut went on the other side of it. Oh, there it is right there. It's actually a 15, guys. This is the side that's the easiest to get to. It's actually welded on. So you have to take the 15 off on the other side. I used a ratcheting wrench, and you do have to kind of hold this with your hand once you get it started, otherwise it'll move. But we've got it out of there, and you can see the column is now separated and pushed down. Hopefully you can see that there. This guy here, that's what we pushed out of that. So now I'm gonna take what looks to be a 13 out right there, because that looks like part of the bracketry for the dash. And then we're gonna walk on both sides because it still seems pretty sturdy here. Don't know if there's a couple other pieces. This piece right here, it was already unhooked. You would definitely have to undo this piece that goes to the floor brace, but we're gonna check and see what we've missed. So here's what I'm gonna do. I can't find anywhere else I'm holding. So we're gonna see these 10mm nuts that hold this little protector, this guy on. We're gonna whip those out. Should be just 4 10mm, see what's underneath there. Well, we definitely needed that out, and I noticed that we got quite a bit more movement in the dash now, but we need to unhook the shifter, so we would have never been able to see that. So what I'm gonna do to unhook that shifter is we're gonna attempt to push it off of this, just like that. And then there's a pin similar to a transmission right here. If you get a little flat blade screwdriver, we can pull this little keeper out right here. There's a keeper in this that we pull straight out, and then we should be able to push that through and it be out of the way, not holding anything anymore. So I don't know if you guys can see that little 10mm right there. Pretty sure it's gonna have to come undone. And I think there's one on both sides. So we're gonna undo those 2 10s. So right up in this very corner here of the glass, we need to take that 10 loose. I'm going to unplug this wiring harness right here. I'm pretty sure that goes to the wipers. And then get the 10 on the other side and we'll see. Those 10mm didn't necessarily have to be undone, guys. It didn't help. So I've been searching, like, what is going on? There are 2 15s in the cutouts of these vents. Hopefully you guys can see that. There's 2 15s, one there and one there, that we need to get out. I'm pretty sure that was the last piece of this puzzle to make this thing get, like, to completely loosen up. So let's get those 15s out. It's quite a ways down in there. I'm gonna use an extension, like a short extension. Let's get them out. That was definitely the ticket, guys. These 2 guys right here were the only 2 that were left. But as you can see, this is the point when you're like, crap, should I have not done this? But we're gonna continue. I'm gonna thread some of these wiring harnesses out. So you can see this guy here that we unplugged up on top of the dash, this guy. We're gonna go through and unplug each and everything that we think is possibly in the way. So I don't know, you can see that the little grommet pushed out, but I really want to get all of this stuff unhooked. So let's just go start with the other side real quick. I'm gonna take my pick or flat blade screwdriver, and we'll look at the ones that are over here because they're a little bit easier. So see the ones that are in here, like that go into that, we can unplug those here. I'm gonna have to push the dash up a little bit. We've got one on the top. Let me set the camera down and unplug those 3 real quick. You also have your antenna, which I think there's a plug somewhere. Maybe, oh, it's right there. We can unplug our antenna that goes to the outside. So let me set the camera down and unplug that stuff. So at this point, guys, we've got everything unhooked over there. You can see that we come to this side and we have a lot going on, right? So we've got our wiring that goes down to the block, or this little distribution relay center. We could take that off, right? The rest of it goes out and underneath the hood. The other thing is, see that I remember that 10mm I said I was going to unplug. It's just a ground, and it'd been nice if I could have lifted that off because it just unplugged from this here. But here's what I'm thinking. We're gonna have to pull this up, and hopefully you can see all this stuff that goes into this. We're just gonna unplug all this. Actually, majority of it's unplugged already. we're just gonna see if we can yank that through there, and that part will be loose. I mean, this was loose. I just had to undo this guy here, but this is all tied in to the cruise control box, unplugged it, and then this goes out to, I'm assuming, the wiper motor. So we are gonna have to pull the cowl off, get it out before we can thread all that stuff back through, which is kind of a bummer, but we'll get it out of there. Now the cool thing is we can release this one plug and grab our piece that goes to our headliner. Remember this piece that I couldn't get out because it was strung behind the dash? Yeah, we can go ahead and get that out now. That's good. And we'll set it over to the side. We just need to remember, I mean, the cool thing is it can go in after the dash. So if we accidentally forget, because remember we want to add this upper console, if we accidentally forget, we can always run it down the side. It still has room. But I need to pull that wiper cowl off next. To get the cowl off, we're going to start by taking the outer plastics. And guys, I'm going to be a little more aggressive on this than I am, you know, the green truck, obviously. We're going to take the caps, these little protective caps or decorative caps off the wipers. Unplug our wiper, the windshield wiper squirter, I'd call it. And then I believe this is a 13 millimeter. We're gonna go ahead and get that loose. And then this, I generally use a flat, well, I was gonna say I generally use a flat blade screwdriver. So we'll get all of those out. But once you have access to this, well, it's not even hooked. Most of the time these are broken, but I believe it's a T15 or a T10 right here. We're not gonna have to take it out because it's broken. But I'm gonna go grab a 13 and we'll grab the wiper arm off. And the only reason we need to do this is for this one connection, but got to do it. Now, normally, once you get all that stuff off, we're loose here. There's one little pin in the middle, just a plastic retaining pin right here. I still need to pull out, and I'll use my little trim removal tool to get that out of there. But these guys are always a fight. They never want to come off, even once you get them loose. And so generally, guys, what I do is I kind of work them back and forth. Oh, wow. Makes me wonder if they've been off. It is a 13. But normally what I do is I thread this back a little bit and then I tap the end of it with a hammer. And they work themselves off, but holy cow, did that make a liar out of me. But once those are out of the way, we can take this piece off and hopefully have access to that plug down below. Now we got everything loose, this thing should come up and we may have to disconnect. I don't know if it's hooked up still, but, and believe me, it's easier without a hood on. We need to disconnect this line that comes in right there. There's obviously some stuff setting on it. We'll just kind of get this out of the way for now. This is the plug that we needed to get to right here. This is for our wipers. Holy cow, that's a tight fit. We need to get it unplugged. I think I may have to go grab a flat blade screwdriver. Maybe not. I think I'm gonna go get one anyway. I don't know if I've got enough room. I may have to take these 10s out to get that thing unplugged. There is not a lot of room there, guys. Let me go grab a screwdriver and we'll see if we can get it out. But if not, you know, we can whip those 10s out really quick. In fact, I'm gonna do that. It'll just make things easier. Yeah, I think that'll make my life a lot easier, actually. Yep. That one plug is the reason we had to do all that. So we're gonna drag all this stuff through. Now, guys, look, this is all unhooked right now. So this whole box, but we're gonna have anything basically that runs into the cab. So there's this big, huge piece of loom and all these connections right here. And I've noticed, I don't know if I said this earlier, I think I did, but there's a couple broken connections. You see these 3 wires? I'm gonna have to resolder those into this plug. I've noticed there's some tape on this too, so I don't know if they tried to tap into something here. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull this through the firewall with are this guy here. And as a matter of fact, since we're swapping the cruise control over too, let's put this back. I'm gonna go ahead and take the 10 millimeters out that hold the cruise control module on. I think they're just on some studs here. We'll get those, or this box out of the way. That'll make life a little bit easier. And we're gonna be transferring it over anyway. There may only be one on the, oh yeah, there's only 3. So 2 on the outside and 1 on the inside. And this guy comes out. That's all there is to the cruise control. It's just that box. And then obviously you have your cable that bolts on or slides onto the throttle body. Now we can go ahead and push this pack of wires through there, and then back into the truck we go. Looks like there's a ground here. Oh no, it's just hooked on a stud. Now we're good to go. Now that we have everything pushed through, we're almost finished and ready to pull the dash out as one unit, but there's a couple things left. So remember, we unhooked, you need to make sure that this is clear. This is your hood latch, okay? And then aside from that, this can stay because this will be on the new truck with the same pins. It's just the brake switch. This guy here though, you can see how it's routed. Take note of that. This is your shifter cable. And so remember, we unhooked that underneath, but just notice the way it's in there, because like I said, I'm pretty sure what we're gonna do is we're gonna yank the dash out and just move this dash over to the other truck. But while looking, there's no other wires from here over. The only things we have left, this initial white switch or white plug right here with the blue like slide on it. It's hooked to the side of the truck. We need to grab our release tools and grab that. And then it looks like we're probably gonna have to grab the line that comes to the airbag module under the seat. So you can go ahead and get that loose, your seat belt, and then this guy. Now I guess you could unplug that, but we're gonna go ahead, get those 2 things unplugged. There is one other switch, or sorry, not switch, but plug underneath this. I don't know if you guys can see it. Oh, you can see it right there. This guy right here, we need to unplug that one. That may relieve the stereo connections, so we don't have to pull this line that runs back to like your speakers and to the other side. So we might as well unplug it so we don't have to drag any additional wire out. But at that point, guys, we're ready to yank this dash out. So I'm gonna have somebody come out and help me, and we're gonna carry this dash out one side. I've dragged the dash back a little further, but I wanted to show you this audio connection. This is the one that I was just showing you. Right underneath that, guys, there's the audio connection. We can unplug that, which is awesome, so we don't have to like route the rest of that wire out. 2 things that I didn't talk about. This little guy here holds a lot of the wiring. You can see it's been pulled and tugged on at some point, but there's 2 little clips that hold it kind of beside the hood release. Okay, so you need to take those out. And then I didn't say this because it kind of came out with the dash, but the little box, right, that sits here, right here, this guy, that just unclips. So you can pull it up and out of that holder, and it's gonna have to come with this whole assembly. So at this point, other than unplugging those stereo connections, we are completely free. Went through and double checked. We're gonna yank this entire dash out, put it over here on the floor. As you can see, guys, the dash is out. Just be careful when you're pulling it out, because you know there's some wiring harness you might step on or whatnot, but it's all self-contained. And so I actually think, guys, this is probably the best way to do this. So if you can go to a salvage yard, find a truck that has power windows, and try to stay with your year. Okay, so if you're looking for a 2000, like mine's a 2002, this is a 2000, I believe. Just stay away from the 99s because they had a little bit different wiring harness as far as the cluster goes. So I would try to stick with like a 2000 up. I would also try to stick with a truck that had, was a regular cab. So if you can find a regular cab, I mean, an extended cab, you might have a few more wires to mess with, but if you can find a regular cab, that would be best. I think a guy could go to a salvage yard, take a 15, a 13, a couple clip removal tools, and I think he could have this out in probably an hour, especially if you have the ability to not have an engine in it and a majority of the interior is gone. So you guys know that most of the time the seats are always gone. That makes things a little bit easier because you're not having to pull the seats out or work around those. But it is out. And so why I think this is the better option is because if we chose to leave the dash in and move everything over, you're gonna have to grab this harness. You see this harness and the box off of all this? You're gonna have to grab that harness from end to end, all the box and all that stuff, and then try to swap it over to this. Well, since this dash has no brakes, it's in good shape, and all of our panels will go right back on top of this, I really think this is your better option. I really do. So that's gonna be my preferred method. So at this point, guys, we're gonna start tearing stuff off this truck. I've got everything for the most part off. I want to keep this around until we're finished with this swap in case I need a few nuts or bolts or anything. I left some of those in the corners back in the back so I knew what went to the dash. But I think we can, my plan is to rob a few more little things off this for my dad's V8 swap, like the fuel lines, the coolant lines here, because this one right here that has the Y in it, sometimes is an issue to find. The motor mounts, I think that's about it. But then my goal is to get this thing sealed up, so get the glass back in it and push this thing outside, get it out of my way so I have a lot of room to do the rest of what I need to do here. So that's the plan. I think the next step, guys, you're gonna see is this thing moved over and hopefully this thing moved out, and we'll get started on this one. Well, guys, it's time to strip some more stuff out of this truck, and hopefully you guys have enough lighting to see what's going on. We're gonna start just kind of working our way through. I already got the little triangle pieces off on the bottom down here. I needed those to unplug the wiring that went to the door. And so here's what I'm gonna do. We're gonna put it in gear. It's on the dollies anyway. We're gonna pop this guy off. Just work your way around. You don't really need anything but your fingers. And I've got pretty much everything in the bed of this truck. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna continue with putting everything in the bed. I've got a couple towels laid back there and some blankets to keep things nice and organized and keep from getting scratched. But now that we got this off, we can go ahead, put it back up in gear. It doesn't really matter. But we'll set this in the back in a second. And we can go ahead and pull our pillar off, which I'm hoping, guys, I've kind of decided that if I have the stuff in place to put, got the microphone for the radio. If I have the stuff when I pull this headliner out to put the other headliner in, I will. If not, I am not going to drill the headliner. I know I had talked about that before, but after trying to drill the rivets out of the other one, I don't feel comfortable trying to drill the rivets in this one. That's really what it boils down to. So either way, I'm gonna go grab the pillar off the other side. Like I said, this is just a mic for my radio. And then we'll continue on with maybe getting some of these vents out of the dash. I don't necessarily have to have all those out, but I am gonna need a 7mm to get the top dash pad off. So we'll start on that once I get the other pillar out. I will tell you I'm gonna be hopping back and forth side to side. I'll move the camera as needed, but there's two Phillips here on the bottom of the dash. Hoping I can reach the other one with this longest screwdriver, but we need to get those out. And I'm going to label these dash cover or dash pad, guys. So keep your stuff relatively close. I think it's good to tag and bag this stuff. There's gonna be so many nuts and bolts and screws, especially since we're taking way more out. We're gonna have to take the seats out. I'll probably take the carpet out. Anyway, so just kind of wanted to let you guys know. So once we get those out, we have a series of 7mm. There's one here, the top, there's a couple, it goes all the way around the radio. So we need to take all of those loose. And see what I'm talking about here. All the way beside the airbag switch. And I'm going to bag these. There's still a couple more. We're going to switch to the other side now. Same situation over here with the 2 screws that go in the side. Get those out. They shouldn't be really tight. I mean, it's just going in plastic. Now what we're going to do is we need to pull these vents out. Kind of how I like to do this is I like to grab a couple plastic pry tools and get our start. You can kind of really push them out once you get to that point, but then we have a Phillips back behind here. It's part of the dash pad. And if you forget where your vents go, guys, they should be interchangeable from side to side here. They're the only 2 that are shaped like this. We need to do the other one as well. Now, a lot of times you can just get one side and they'll both come out, but you can see they're identical. So you can't, I mean, it doesn't really matter. I tend to set stuff in the order that it comes off. So like if something goes on the driver's side, I'll set it on the driver's side in the rear of the truck. Something goes on the passenger side, I'll set it on the passenger side and whatnot. So now that we got that, we need to release this guy. And there's a couple pins back here that release this. And it's kind of a pain, but if you, man, it's been so long since I've done it. I want to say you have to push it in while you're trying to pull out. But I'm going to have to shine my light in there and make sure of that. All right, so if there's a little white tab in here that if you press on it on both sides, I messed around with it for a minute because for some reason I thought you removed them, but you don't. You just press on them and it releases this and you can pull it out. Not much to it there, but at this point, guys, we should be loose. And so we're gonna pull back at the same time we're kind of pulling up. So if that makes sense, it sets in these channels on the front. And so I need to go do the other side. So it's already cracked in the middle. I'm gonna attempt to glue this one because it's in really good shape. I don't know, because I don't have another one. If I can find another one, I may do that, but let's go grab it out of the other side here. Now mine, for some reason, has, like, it's not an alarm, but it's your auto dimming for the lights, or auto light. So we need to make sure we get it unplugged. It should just turn. Well, they used to just turn. May have to just unplug it. I'm gonna have to get a clip remover and unplug it real quick. It'd be nice if I had another hand out here right now, but I don't tonight. Just need my light to stay in here so I can see it. There we go. Now once this is loose, go ahead and drag it out. You can see what I'm talking about with my crack right there. Not terrible, but we may be able to glue that and fix it. These dashes are so junky, you know, they generally don't crack as much as they peel. The peeling is always the problem. At this point, I am gonna have to hook the battery back up. I didn't even think about this, guys. I was being lazy and I wanted to be able to sit down while I took that off. And I forgot that I have power seats. So we're gonna have to use the power option to slide the seats forward and back. Should be 15 millimeters on the front side. They should be a nut. On the back, it's gonna be an 11. Now it's actually an inverted Torx, but I generally use a 15 in the front, 11 in the back, and I don't have any issues. So I'm gonna go ahead. I won't show you guys that. You know how to take seats out, but I need to get the seat out so I can get the console out, so we can get the glove box out, and the the knee bolster on the other side. So let me do that real quick. Now you can see we've got both seats out. So we're gonna go ahead and pop this loose. It's so hot out here today, guys. I need a mini split. Let me know if you guys know about mini splits and should I put one in the shop. Sure would be nice to have some AC out here. So once we remove that, there's two 10 millimeters that hold this thing to a bracket to the dash, if it's installed correctly. So we'll get that out. And what's funny is whoever had the console in that truck that I swapped, I noticed they left that. So they sold the console without that. We're gonna try to drag the cigarette lighter wires out. They're gross and falling all over the place, but I'm not gonna deal with that right now. You may see me vacuum this once or twice, but now the console's loose, so we can go ahead and pull it out. If you notice, guys, this is stuff that we did not have to tackle in the last truck because, well, it was already parted out. I'm gonna go ahead and take the 7 millimeters across the bottom. Now, when I did this, I did not put the rivets in, so once I pull these out, it's gonna be loose. Like, we'll take this out, and it should, oh, maybe I did. I did leave the rivets in. Okay, so I take that back. Let's go ahead and get the rest of the 7s out then. Should all be 7 millimeter. For some reason, I'm thinking about a different truck. There's been so many, guys. I know. I feel like that's all of them, but I'm gonna double check. I think it should just unclip at this point. It did. A couple of our pieces stayed in, but that's okay. This is out now. Now we need to go to the other side and do the same thing. I'll probably go ahead and take these clips out actually, just so when we're going back together, things work nicely. This is pretty normal for the clips to come off. They really need to be bent a little bit. Now we need to take this side off. And guys, I forgot to tell you, I did unhook the battery again. So after I got the seats out, the battery did get unhooked. Similar situation here, these should be clipped. And just like everywhere else, one of the clips came off. That one's a little harder to reach though. Oh, maybe not. Tagging and bagging everything. Just to make sure we don't lose anything. This one's got a crack in it, which I've been looking for another one, see it had like something mounted to it at some point. I may try to find one. Since I'm down here, I'm gonna go ahead and pull this bracket off. Should just be clipped on. It goes over a screw that sticks out. I don't really understand that, but then it clips at the top, so we need that out. And guys, now I think I'm gonna work around the back here, getting all the trim out, because I wanna get the headliner out because it needs recovered whether we go with the console or not. It still needs recovered, so let's work on this back here. Normally what I like to do in these situations is I'm gonna go ahead and pop these out of place. I think it gives you a little bit additional pry area, but we're gonna kind of work our way through with our hands and see if we can get the clips loose without breaking them. Okay, they go all the way along the back. Should be clips on the top. This is older, guys, so try to work your way through all the clips. And you can see we're just working our way down. I'm kind of sandwiching my fingers around each clip to give me a little more leverage where I'm not pulling on the panel as much as I'm pushing the clip out on both sides. Hopefully that makes sense. So you can see I'm kind of putting my fingers around it and using them as a pry tool. And guess what? We did not break one single clip. Perfect. One of the clips came off, but we didn't break it. Now on each side of these pillars, we're gonna have, you're supposed to have anyway, 2 Phillips screws that go into this back panel. And we need to take those off before we start just prying stuff off. Now we've already got the bottom seal plate out that goes beside the seat. We had to get that out to get the kick panels out. We did that in an earlier video. But once you get these 2 screws out, this is a similar situation, guys. So what I'm gonna attempt to do is I'm gonna try to start from the bottom. I may go back and forth, top to bottom, and we're gonna work our way through all the clips. Once we have both those screws out, guys, this is really a delicate part here because this one right here always wants to crack. If you guys caught earlier in the video when I took the ones out of the other truck, they were actually already cracked, but there's several clips inside this. So if you just take your time, similar situation, if you can get your hand back in behind it and work your way down, unclipping it, that seems to work best. And if you crack it, you crack it. You know, it's got some age on it. So sometimes it doesn't necessarily come out easy. Now, look, this thing's been in a garage a lot of its life, even from the previous owner. So that helps. You know, it doesn't have a ton of sun fade and it's not quite as brittle, you know, as the older or ones that may have sat outside their whole life. Let's see how many I broke. Well, there's one that's missing, but it doesn't look like I broke any of the others. You can see here we got 1, 2, 3, this little tab, 4, 5, 6, 7, and I think there should be an 8th one here, but guys, I don't think it's been here for a while because there's not even a clip here. Oh, I take that back, it's right here. It didn't feel like it cracked to me though, so that's good. And it's towards the bottom. We got a lot of tie-in with the plate down at the bottom, but I think we're good. So either way, I'm gonna do this to the other side, get it off. I won't show you guys that, but then we'll have both these things off, and I think we'll move to possibly the headliner so we can get that, basically see if that piece is there. I don't think it's gonna be, but we'll see. Before we start taking the headliner out, we do need to take the 2 Phillips screws out of the 3rd brake light because there is a plug back there. So your third brake light and your cargo lights all tie into the headliner wiring. If you don't take that out, a lot of times you break the clip when you're taking the headliner out. So guys, in my opinion, this is the best way to do this because you have really good access to the plug once you pull that light out. Now mine is brand new since the truck's been painted. It's actually a new GM unit. And I probably should have done this earlier because I got a bed full of stuff now. So I'm gonna move some stuff out of the way and grab this light out real quick. And then we can move back onto the inside. I wanted to show you guys the clip. See that guy right there? The other thing is I noticed that my headliner, even though it's pretty rough as far as like starting to fall down, it still has, there's a little clip in the middle that pushes out. It's right in the middle. It kind of helps hold the back of the headliner up. Not a requirement. Most of them, the glue comes undone, but for some reason mine is still there. So I pushed it. If you pinch it, it will push through the top and back into the inside. I may have to do it again before we pull the headliner out, but let's move back on the inside and get the rest of the headliner loose. Now we're gonna move on to the visors. I'm not really sure why GM chose to do certain things in certain trucks, but these guys are a T15. Yeah, and what's so weird to me is like everything, you know, you've got Phillips throughout the whole thing, 7mm throughout the whole thing, and then you have these random T15s. Just seems awkward to me. But either way, we've got 3 of those holding this guy in place. And then I believe you'll have another one right here. I think it's a T15 as well. Seems to be. Get all those out. And then we will pull this guy. Oh man. They all should be the same size. Let's just make sure. Oh, I take that back. Look, the one that goes in the holder here for the other end is shorter. So we're gonna set it inside of there. As opposed to making bags for stuff like this, I just kind of keep the screws with it, and then you don't have to worry about making a bag. So let's see if we can get this out. And then I won't show you guys the other side. Try to cut out some of that. But same process on the other side. Now we're gonna move on to, oh man, that's not good. We're gonna move on to these coat hangers. And I wanted to show you guys, since I have it set off, kind of how they work. To me, it's a little easier to see it like this. So this is how it's in the car, right? The bottom of it pulls out. So hopefully you guys can see that, like that. See how it separates? So that's what we need to do. We need to pull the bottom out. I'm gonna use either a couple flat blade screwdrivers like you see in my hand, or I'm gonna use a couple pry tools, see if we can get these things out of place. Sometimes I like the screwdriver option better because we are replacing this. And so, in my opinion, it just makes things a little easier. I'm not gonna attempt to pull that out because it's kind of got a clip on it to where it'd be easier to just get it loose like this and out of the roof like it is. And then we can pull it out once we get the headliner down. That way you're not ripping the back side of the headliner. There we go. So it is down. Now all we need to do is work on the light up top. I guess we could go ahead and pull this guy out. Kind of how it works, same situation. You pull this down and then we can slide it over and hopefully thread it out of here. It's got a plug on it. See if we can get it unplugged. We did. This thing has seen better days. And now all we need to do is get the handle out and we'll be loose. You can see now that I've taken the light down that we've got a lot of movement, but guys, similar to what happened on the other truck. I don't know if you guys remember back when I took the headliner out of it, but this line that runs all the wiring on the top side, so to your third brake light, to your mirrors if you have them, to your center dome light, this goes back behind the dash. So there's no way to get this off unless you pull the dash out, which we will be doing. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this down and I'm just going to peel the glue back that holds this to the liner. So, but before we do that, let's go show you how to get this guy off. Using these same flat blade screwdrivers, I'm going to kind of dig into its side here. Attempt to. We're going to kind of pull these loose. I'm going to use 2 flat blade screwdrivers. And I'm being very, very careful, trying not to scratch the surrounding area. If you're careful, you can do it without that. So now, guys, pretty sure it's stuck in the windshield glue like it normally is. It is, of course. But that's fine. We'll have to come over and get it off the other side. And no, it does not have the provision for the centerpiece. They don't even have a structural piece in there. Okay, so maybe I'll change my mind. Let's get this peeled the rest of the way out here. So these go in before the windshield in the factory, and because of that, you generally have some glue that sticks. And I'm going to take my time off camera here and pull this wiring off the glue, but we got the headliner out. So here's the deal on this. I was nervous about drilling out in this truck, not so much the other one because it's obviously parts truck, but this, all we need is that center section. So I don't know, guys, let me know in the comments if you think I should go for the center console. I don't know that I'll ever really use it. I don't really know how big a deal that is to me. The power windows, yeah, but the center console that I would never put anything in, kind of back and forth on that. But if I can get that out relatively easy, I may do that, but I'm gonna have to find a way to attach it. I know some people had said they'd use some small screws. I don't know, I may just have to get out there on the other truck and just mess around with it, take it out, and then kind of see from there. But honestly, guys, I think that's gonna be it for this video. We got a lot of stuff stripped down. Got all the stuff out of the other truck. Obviously got all the stuff out of this truck for the most part. In the next video, we're going to tackle the dash, all the wiring that goes to the box under the hood, and hopefully maybe start going back together with some stuff. But guys, if you are enjoying this video, you can see I'm literally soaked in sweat out here, but if you are enjoying this video, this progress, like always, please go down there and smash that thumbs up button. Guys, if you are not subscribed, go down there and hit that subscribe button. Of course, ring the bell icon that notifies you every time we drop a new video, and stay tuned to see this thing get power windows, power locks, and power mirrors.